everyone, Dr. Charlie Johnson, physical therapist. In today's video, I want to talk a little bit about a natural, all-natural medicine that you can pop literally whenever you want that will bring instant relief to your lower back problems or really any problem for that matter. So we're going to talk about that. And you know what I do is I help people naturally solve their pain problems without things like traditional medicine, pills, injections, or worst case outside of the medication arena, getting surgery. So with that being said, a lot of people come to me because they are frustrated by the traditional medical system. They've gone to their family doctor, they've been told that they need to take a muscle relaxant or this pain pill or some anti-inflammatory like naproxen or something like that. And it masks the pain. It doesn't actually solve the problem. So with that being said, it's disheartening for me, somebody who helps people avoid those things, because there are much better ways to do it. Another thing that people come to me with is that they say, well, Charlie, you know, you're right, I tried those traditional methods and they didn't work, but I tried PT and I tried chiropractic and that didn't work either. So what's going on? And people have been going about it completely wrong. So I want to explain why doing a whole sheet of cookie cutter exercises is not physical therapy, and what you should be doing instead. And just to reveal here, in case you didn't sort of get it through this discussion so far, the medicine I'm talking about that's completely all natural, can be popped all day long and won't rip a hole in your belly like a anti-inflammatory drug might, is medicine. So that movement is medicine. Today I want to talk about how you can use that to solve your pain problem and start to feel better and use it correctly. So it's not that people come to me all the time and are asking for, Charlie, what are the exercises for back pain? Or hey, I went to PT and they bring in this whole folder and it's 15 different things to do for their back problem or neck problem or shoulder problem, or what is it, right? So thinking back to some of the big mistakes that people make when they have back pain or whatever it may be, is that they do everything. So doing everything is a major mistake, and here's why. So here we'll put PT in the middle. This is the traditional way people use exercise or movement within the healthcare field to try to feel better, and a lot of people get stuck and don't get the relief they're looking for because they make this mistake, all right? They go to PT, and that PT gives them this exercise and that one and this one, and we'll stretch this and we'll strengthen that, and maybe it's your hamstring, your hips look a little tight, I think your nerve could move a little better. And you can imagine that this is just chaos. So not only does the PT not have a wonderful idea often of what's going on, and therefore they have to sort of throw the whole thing against the wall and see what sticks, right? So sort of shotgun approach. And a lot of these things get that when they're giving you these things, they're not operating off of a clear thought process. So ideally, when you work with somebody who has a problem, you should be asking them questions saying, hey, what is the main hypothesis or what is the main thought about what could be going on with whatever it may be? Right? Everything that you're doing should be structured towards testing thoughtfully that question, right? So with that being said, we'll stretch your hamstrings, we'll twist your back this way, maybe you should do some of these squats or ride a bike, right? And the point is that, well, if we think that your back pain is due to a hamstring problem, then maybe stretching the hamstrings might work, or maybe not. If we think that cardiovascular problem is, or lack of movement in general is part of your problem, then the bike might work, right? If we think that the nerve is a problem, then moving the nerve might be the solution. But you can see that a lot of these things operate off of different thought processes. So if you have back pain or whatever, you don't want to be stretching a million different things and then also strengthening a million things because you don't actually know what's working. So at the end of this, what you end up with is you just end up with mass confusion. If you get better, right, there's only 3 responses to treatment. You're either going to feel the same, you're going to feel better, or you're going to feel worse. Oh, frown face. And if you're doing all of this, the PT doesn't actually know what made you better. Therefore, if the professional went to school for this doesn't know what made you better, then you sure as heck don't know what made you better. And while you're like, I don't really care, well, you will care, right, later, because we know a lot of these problems may come back, and that's just the natural way that things happen. Back pain, you might feel better, you might get treatment, but down the road you might be doing something, you might notice it again. Sorry, there's all kinds of sirens that are distracting me in the background. But the point is that you need to understand that as best as possible. You need to figure out which one or two of these things is the solution to your problem, right? Because then you know what to do if it does come back again, and you know exactly what relieved your problem. Or if you go this route, you say, hey, the cookie cutter approach didn't work for me. I did all these exercises. I sat in the corner and just kicked my legs back and forth while the PT was working with 5 other people. Then, you know, based off of this, you're going to have no idea, if you're not getting better, what's actually keeping you the same. Or if you said PT made me worse, well, the PT and you don't actually know what made you worse, because you were trying to use exercise and movement as medicine, but you were doing it inappropriately, all right? And it's not your fault per se. That is the healthcare professional, in this case, maybe the PT, chiropractor, whoever's fault is doing that with you. So, got that? Cool. So now we know that that's a major flaw. All right, now I want to talk about how can you use movement correctly and as an appropriate medicine. Here we go. So, let's just say there's a few things that you can do with any given medicine. So let me ask you this. First off, if you had a headache, let's just say at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So this is time and this is your pain, right? There's a max pain level where you're just like, got to shut the lights off and go to sleep if you got a headache, right? And you know, it's doing pretty good. And then for whatever reason, at 2 o'clock or in the afternoon, you start to get a headache. This is an example, all right? When would you take your medicines? Let's just say you had a pain pill or a headache medicine, Tylenol, whatever, and you were going to take it. Well, would you take it, this is 2 p.m., would you take it at 8 a.m.? You can answer that. My guess is no. You'd say, that's silly, it doesn't make sense, I don't have a headache, then I wouldn't take it. Now, you might take it somewhere in this time frame, right? You might take it at 1:30 to try to curb it so you don't get it. You might take it at 2 o'clock, you might take it at 3 o'clock, or maybe 2:30 immediately after it starts. But the point is that an hour either way is probably when you're going to, logically in your brain, it would make sense to take that medication, right? The purpose of the medication is to resolve the symptoms, then you would time it appropriately. So we've got time there, right? And then I would say, well, the question then would be, how much are you going to take? So there's a dosage question, right? And when you get a script for medication or when you read the bottle, it says, hey, children 12 and under and adults take 200 milligrams every 4 hours or whatever it is. So there's a dose or there's an amount. Timed it. And then there's a frequency. So they say take 200 milligrams and then they say every 4 hours or whatever it is. So there's a frequency or how often you take it to get the max benefit of that medication. Well, movement can be the same thing. So if you have a headache, the other thought is you wouldn't just take like 100 different pills. Hopefully, if you went to the physician, you would think it was weird if you said, hey, I have back pain, and they gave you 30 things, which they usually do, but, if they gave you a bunch of things to do. Why? Because you would just be recreating that whole, cycle of confusion by taking a million different things. Instead, you probably have a pill that you go to, or there are 1 or 2 pills for people with back problems. It's naproxen, it's a muscle relaxant, or a steroid pack if it's really bad. Those are the things generally that are prescribed for like a back problem or an ache or pain or something like that. So based off that, you're going to take a pill, 1, maybe 2 pills. You're going to take it around, if you get a headache at 2 p.m., then you're going to take it around 1:30, 2:30, something like that. You're going to take a certain amount of it, and you're going to take it maybe every 2 hours thereafter, right? So there's a frequency, a time dose and a frequency. Now, if you picture that movement is a pill, so there's a pill, hopefully that's on the screen. Pill, right? And movement is in there. That would be cool if we got that for aches or pains, right? If the physician said, hey, you have back pain, you have neck pain, here's a prescription for movement. This is a crazy fact. Like out of 100 people that go to the primary care physician for back problems, only like 7% of those people are actually referred to PT. So what are the other people getting? Probably a bunch of pain pills, and that's why we're so addicted, and all kinds of other stuff. Anyway, that's another topic, but just picture now that movement could be your pill, could be your new form of medication for whatever ache or pain you're dealing with. So now we can apply these same principles that we do to traditional medication to movement. So get this in this example. And again, this is an example, but start to see, just get the concept of how you can use this to your benefit. So we already said, rather than doing a million different exercises, we're going to pick just the best one, maybe two, to try to be as specific as possible about, testing, hey, what could be going on? What do I think is going to help? Well, you're only going to find out by being thoughtful about what you do, and less is more. I'm thinking something's like on fire outside, or Santa's like cruising down Ridge right now. Anyway, where was I? Sorry, all those sirens. All right. Let's just say that you pick the best one or two movements, and here is what I would recommend. If you get back pain, and a lot of people have a lot of back stiffness first thing in the morning, so that could be one sort of example, right? Or other people, they get it at the end of the day, right? Or maybe you get it in the middle of the day. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Let's just pick, for the heck of it, morning. So let's just say you get your back pain or whatever it is first thing when you wake up in the mornings. This is 8 a.m., this is 2 p.m. By then, you've walked it out, you feel a little bit better. Here's how you would use movement as medicine, right? You would time it. How would you time it? Well, you wouldn't take a pill if you had back pain at 8 a.m. or a headache at 8 a.m. You wouldn't take your pill at 2 p.m. Or in this case, I ask people who come to me, I say, hey, when do you do your exercises for PT? And so I do this whole sheet of exercises, and I just do it whenever I can. And I say, well, when's that? Well, usually after work. And I say, okay, well, when do you get your back pain? Well, it's stiffest and worst first thing in the morning. Well, so then what you're telling me is if you think of movement as a pill, you're taking your medication at 4 o'clock for a pain that starts at 8 a.m. Makes zero sense. So you've got to time it appropriately. So we're going to find the best one or two movements for you. That could be something that, I don't recommend it, you found on YouTube, or maybe a yoga move, or whatever it is. Don't worry so much what is that movement yet. Just start to be selective and thoughtful about how you apply it using this concept, right? So you're going to pick one or two movements that you think are making you feel better, or that you enjoy. Don't pick something that's making you feel worse, and you know that, right? Pick something that you feel is making you better, and right when you get out of bed in the morning, you're going to do that movement. So you've timed it now appropriately, right before when you get the problem, or right about the time when you get out of the problem, So you're going to do that movement. Or if it's first thing in the morning thing, you can do it right before you go to bed. But the point is, you want to time it appropriately. If you get your back pain at 4 p.m., you darn well better be doing something at 3, 2:30, 3:30, that type of thing, to curb it again. So you got to understand you can time medicine, and therefore you can time movement as medicine. Dose. So how much are you going to do it? The nice thing about doing only one or two things is it doesn't take you like any time. You could literally pick the best one or two things that takes you 10-15 seconds to do, and then we can time it, dose it, and figure out how often we need to do it. Instead of doing a whole cookie cutter sheet of exercise that takes you 30 minutes at 4 p.m., and none of that makes sense. You don't know what the heck's going on, you've timed it inappropriately, it's just a mess. All right, so you timed it appropriately. Dose. How much are we going to do it? I would pick something, a specific movement or stretch or whatever it is, and literally just pick it for like 30 seconds before you get out of bed. The thing is look, we don't know how much you need to do until we test it. This is all about testing it. This is not about like what's the perfect exercise for this or that, right? There's thought behind it obviously, but we need to test it out. So maybe pick like 10 reps, or 30 seconds, just pick something as a low entry point that's achievable and you know you can do it right before you get out of bed in the morning. So that's an amount, and we kind of have a question about it, but we picked one. Now, frequency. So, now that you've done it first thing in the morning, and if you're only doing something for 10 reps or 30 seconds, then what if you could take that and do it every 2 hours, right? So I think, right, traditional approach would be like, you do a boatload of exercises that take you 30 minutes, with traditional PT or whatever, an exercise program, and you do it once a day. I'm breaking it up and chunking it, saying, hey, this will take you 30 seconds, and then how about at 10 o'clock while you're at work, you do something for 30 seconds, and then what at 12, 2, 4, 6, and right before you go to bed, what if you double up on it? So you got 30 seconds, a minute, minute 32, 3, we got like 5 to 8 minutes of exercise there, right? But it's much more effective. It's a much more effective way to use movement as medicine. So again, you can time things appropriately just to kind of bring full picture to this and summarize it. Movement is medicine. Doesn't rip a hole in your belly. You can take it as much as you want. Time it. You can take it whenever you want, as much as you want at a certain dose, and sort of, as frequently as you need to throughout the day to bring relief to whatever pain problem you're having, all right? Now, when this becomes really powerful is when you stack, I'm going to erase this. Take a screenshot if you need this. Oh man, do I want to get into this? Yeah, let's do it. There we go. So when you combine these things, the best treatment for any given problem out there is a combination of both exercise or movement strategies, just like we talked about, using time, dose, frequency, really intelligent use, and only the best 1 or 2, so you can then determine, am I feeling better, am I feeling sane, or am I feeling worse? And then you can know, it's all based off one specific thought of what could be going on, and then you know what actually made you worse, and then you can systematically go through a process of elimination as far as what is working, what is not working. You will figure something out usually there, right? And then you combine that with education. So this is education. I can't spell that. Education. Movement combined with education. And that is what makes you feel better and what makes you feel worse. So you're going to have maybe a couple things here that make you feel better. Maybe you select one of those things to use over here repeatedly. Maybe that's your 1 or 2 things, right? But you're also going to have many things that make you feel worse problem. Maybe you're going to say, hey, I don't like to sit. I don't like to drive. Bending's a drag. I can't just pitch it over to do the dishes is a pain in the you know what. So on and so forth. Well, get that in the presence of doing all these things, having an ugly environment, an environment that is not conducive to healing because you're constantly nicking the scab or flaring up the fire because you have a lot of things that make you feel worse and just a few things that make you feel better, you can do all the movement you want, and it might help a little bit, but then when you go back into that environment and you're doing things and you're not aware of it, it's just going to annoy things again. You can also say the truth about the opposite. What the heck was the opposite? Hold on. Yeah, you could be doing all the education you want and modifying these things, but you could still have a specific type of stiffness or weakness or something like that that only movement can address, right? So point is that if you're just doing movement but you're not aware of your environment, that's only half the picture. You're going to get 50% relief, let's just say, from that. If you're just doing education but you're not doing the movement, or maybe it was the other, I can't remember what I just said, then you're only getting 50% relief from that. You have to sort of put the whole thing together to get the total package and to get the best relief possible. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully it's helpful, and you can work through. You can tell probably I got a lot going through my brain, so hopefully you can work through that. This is Dr. Charlie Johnson. If you're interested in what I have to say today, and you need help and you're looking for natural relief, and you want to set up a free consult or chat with me directly, 484-552-3767. Would love to help you out. Post any comments below. Love what I'm doing. Super passionate about it. And yeah, we'll go from there. Thanks for watching.